So the talking was So, I think it starts about 2 years ago now, and it was Advaita Acharya's appearance day. It was also the very first day of Radha Mellows, and I was here. And somehow or other, between Manu and Maharaj, they were so incredibly, compassionately merciful that they decided that I should give a morning lecture. And I'll tell all of you a secret about me now. I say yes to the service all the time. And then I am terrified on the inside. So I said, yes, of course I'll do it. And then of course you're wondering, well, how does this all work out? But by the mercy of Advaita Acharya, it was wonderful. Such a fun lecture. And because everyone was so reciprocal and participating. And this kirtan is going to be another one of those full participation kirtans. You all are going to become expert kirtan leaders after this kirtan. So, a friend of mine was in Mayapur at the same time. And she had an idea. She thought, I should get something for Acyuta. And so she went to a shop where they sell deities of Dameshwar Mahaprabhu. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's wife, Vishnupriya, after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas, she had one deity. She worshipped this deity. And this is Dameshwar Mahaprabhu. And he's very big and very beautiful. And so she walked into a shop and they sell so many of them. And she looked, she said, him, that's the one I want. And the shopkeeper said, I don't want to sell him. And she was very confused because this is a shop where they sell many of them. So why not this one? And they were haggling back and forth. He refused to give her a price. She had to call other devotees to try and help translate because she's Nepali, the shop owner was Bengali, and the miscommunication was rampant. And finally, I heard, she said she was crying, everything. Finally, he gave her a price, and then she got him. And the place where she purchased him was not very far from the temple of Dameshwar Mahaprabhu. So she took him to the temple, and the pujaris saw him, and the pujaris took him and put him on the altar. They closed the curtains, they did an invocation, and then they gave him back. This Nitai has his own Instagram page, and so on his Instagram page is the photo of him on the altar with Dameshwar Mahaprabhu. So it's Nitai's world, so you can look it up on Instagram. And you can also see that I'm not lying in front of the deities. And after all of that, she writes me a text message and says, I have a present for you. And I said, well, wonderful, what is it? She said, I got you Mahaprabhu. I'm thinking, is this a photo? It's a very wide range of things that can be, what do you mean you got me Mahaprabhu? And then she sent me a photo of her holding him. And then she wrote down the whole story of how she had to go get him, and she took him to meet Dameshwar Mahaprabhu, and I'm thinking, you didn't get me a present, you got me a fully installed personality. And there was no conversation prior about it. I never asked, she never said, oh, well, nothing. And that's not the first time that's happened to me in my life. a godbrother of mine some 6-7 years ago. He said, "Acyuta Gopi, I have a present for you." Exact same phrasing. So now I'm very wary. When people say, "I have a present for you," how in depth is this present? So he said, "I have a present for you, but first, I need to know, how much do you love Lord Nityananda?" It's a very interesting question. And I said, "Well, I love Lord Nityananda so much that I wouldn't even talk about him for the first half of my life. Everybody knows Lord of my life is Radha Govinda. But before my bond with Govinda Dev was cemented, there was Nitai. And because in the interest of us all being family and sharing from the heart, when I was young, I was about 8 years old, and I was on the bus on the way to school. I went to a regular public school. I hated it. It was miserable. And I fell asleep on the bus in the morning. And I had a dream. And in that dream, I was playing a game of tag with Gornitai in the temple room. And I was running from them, but I was also terrified because I was thinking, if my parents catch me running in the temple room, they're going to kill me. But I can't not play this game. And then I was even more upset because I had to catch them. And I was my small size, and they were their big size. And I was thinking, this game is going to go on forever. I can never catch them. And I thought, well, I'll make a plan. And as I was running, I pretended to trip, and I fell and rolled on the temple room floor. And I just laid there. And both of them stopped. Mahaprabhu was a little further, but Nitai was closer. And Nitai started walking towards me. And Mahaprabhu said, "She's faking. Don't go over there." Nitai said, "Don't worry, it's fine." And Nitai held out his hand to make sure I was okay. With one hand, I remember I took his hand and I got up and then I tagged it. "You're it!" And I ran away. And then woke up, still having to go to purgatory, which was school. And so, ever since then, Nityananda was the Lord of my life. Because Mahaprabhu will know when we're faking it. But Nitai doesn't even care if we're faking it. And so I thought, that's my person. So my godbrother said, "How much do you love Lord Nityananda?" I said, "Well, more than my own self." He said he had a Shalagram Shila that he had been worshipping in the mood of Lord Nityananda, and an Anantadev Shila. He said, I feel like I have too many Shilas, but the only person I could think to give this one to was you. And so I have my Anantadev Shila. Also, but then after that, he went on to get like 3-4 more Shilas. And so I was always wondering, this was clearly Krishna's plan, because he went from having too many Shilas, so he had to gift one away, to then gaining 3 or 4 more. So I had that Shila, and then now I'm looking, and I look at the photo of him, and I'm thinking, it's a blue lotus, and dark, like Radha Kuntilak. I'm thinking golden tinged with red. This is not seeming like Mahaprabhu. It seems more like Nitai. But I wouldn't say anything until I had him in my possession. And so that was January, February. And she went on a worldwide yatra unintentionally. Lord Nityananda loves to travel. He went on pilgrimage for 20 years. until he met Mahaprabhu. When Mahaprabhu was ready, then okay, fine. But for those 20 years, he goes on pilgrimage. So she went and traveled. She traveled first to Vrindavan, and she was waiting for a visa, and she was supposed to stay there for 2 weeks, and instead she stayed for, I think, 3 months. And then she went to Australia, and then she went all around the United States, and then in June, she came to New York, and we have New York Rath Yatra. And just after, the week after New York Rath Yatra, is usually a 24-hour kirtan. And I still had not seen him. So January, all the way till June. And I was just telling a few devotees that I was in a little bit of anxiety because as the months went on, I thought, well, what if she changes her mind? And I thought, better not to get too attached. Better not to think, oh, he's mine, because then I've heard from Srimad Bhagavatam bad things happen if you promise things to brahmanas and then you don't go through with them. And even though I don't feel at all qualified as a brahmana, my Guru Maharaj has given me these responsibilities. So I thought, best not to get too attached. And so I can only imagine that she must not have thought that I was that excited. But really, I was just trying to brace myself in case anything went wrong. And finally, in June, it was a Tuesday, in between New York Rath Yatra and this 24-hour kirtan, and it was the day of Yogini Ekadashi. And I had given a morning lecture because the devotees are really, really tolerant and they seem to bear with me all around the world. Thank you. And I'd given the morning lecture, and then I was speaking on the phone with my mom. And all of a sudden, in my heart, I could hear and feel and see devotees singing Jai Nityananda Ram for the 24-hour kirtan that I absolutely was not going to. I felt like Nitai said, come get me, I'm going to 24-hour kirtan. And another thing about me is I argue with God all the time. That is the subtext of being best friends. We should feel the right to argue. But I'm not going to 24-hour kirtan. Come get me, going to 24-hour kirtan. I said, Mom, I have to call you back. It's a long story, I'll tell you later, but I have to call you back. So I messaged my friend. I said, do you think I can come and get him today? She said, no problem. I'll send you my location. And as big as New York is, she was 8 minutes away from my house. So then I called my sister. I said, okay, Operation Go Get God. She said, I have the car, let's go. We picked up fruits along the way, some mangoes. And then we met her, and he came in his own traveling bag, because he's been making arrangements for himself ever since. Came in his own traveling bag, and she handed him to me, and I handed her the fruits, and I stated that it wasn't an open adoption, so there are no take-backs. And I remember when I picked him up out of the bag, I thought, you are so much more handsome than in any photo. So much more handsome. And I also had a moment where I thought, oh no, my free time is finished. Because I don't know how anybody can just go about their day without just stopping and staring at him for a while. And so the organizer for 24-hour kirtan had been calling me all day. I finally called her back. I said, good news, I'm coming to 24-hour kirtan. She said, wonderful, but that's not why I was calling you. And I thought, well, why else would you be calling me? She said, we need a theme for the festival. And the Holy Name Immersion had just happened in New Vrindavan. So she said, it was such a beautiful festival. It was so nice how you all made a theme. Can you help us? Bhaktivinoda Thakur's disappearance will be in the middle of the festival. So can you think of something with the holy name and Bhaktivinoda Thakur? I said, well, I happen to have come into the possession of a deity of Lord Nityananda, and he's now going to travel with me. So we can make the theme around Nitai has opened the marketplace of the holy name. We can sing Koda Nitai, wonderful bhajan by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And immediately she said, I have goosebumps, so amazing. What do you think we should do for decorations? Use the same ones that we used for the holy name immersion. And the altar, the backdrop had been decorated like Jagannath Puri. Even down to, on the far side, in a small corner, was a little Patita Pavana Jagannath. And so she said, do you think it'll work? I said, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, love Jagannath Puri, no problem. Just have goosebumps, best idea. And so we all traveled to New Vrindavan. And when I brought Nitai for the Kirtan, everyone was waiting outside. And they had ghee lamps, conch shells, flower petals. It was the most incredible welcoming that I'd ever seen. So I took Nitai to take darshan of all the deities. And ever since that moment, Nitai has traveled and met many, many deities, and he only has 2 rules that I impose on him. No mischief, no merging. That's it. No mischief and come home. Because it's very difficult to get him back when he goes places. Because somehow people are so enamored. I just want to take him. Yes, please don't. I'll die. So I whispered to him, I was like, no mischief, no merging. We know Nitai, when he sees deities of Baladev, he becomes very ecstatic. He tries to pick them up, put on their garlands, hug them. So I was really telling him, please, no mischief. No one is ready for it. And they had a table for him set up with, you know, those Moroccan lanterns? And they were all blue. So beautiful. And they had flowers. And someone brought a flower garland. And so Nitai loves to make his own arrangements. He really, really, really does. And that evening, around 6:30 or 7 p.m., one devotee was singing in Kirtan. And I remember he was really looking at Nitai. And then he started to sing Jaya Nityananda Ram. And the entire temple room was singing Jaya Nityananda Ram. I thought, that is exactly what made me go get him and bring him to the 24-hour Kirtan. It was exactly what I'd felt inside. Which was really nice because it dispelled any and all doubts about whether or not he was Lord Nityananda. Because sometimes we think, well, he looks like Dameshwar Mahaprabhu. Shouldn't it be a little bit like, is he Mahaprabhu or is he Nityananda? But he's definitely Nitai, and he's made it so clear, and he has such personality. There are several people in this room who will tell you that they've had dreams with him in it. Saraswati is one. And he's incredibly present and so accepting and really lovable and super huggable. Whenever I have a bad day, that's what happens. I go and I hug Nitai. And sometimes you can enter into my house, and depending upon how good or bad the day has been, I'm literally just holding Nitai. There are some times when I've watched, has anybody seen Nimai of Nadia? Yeah? So sometimes I'll put on that movie, it's so well done. And then there was one time I was like, okay, come Nitai, let's watch it together. So we've sat and watched movies together. We've had meals together. but he really is the most approachable, dearmost friend. So I encourage all of you, have a real conversation with him as he's here. Usually, if I travel somewhere, I can get away with 2.5 days of him not being with devotees. But by the third day, and this is the third day, by the third day, he really starts making it known that, why did you bring me here if I'm not with all the devotees? In fact, I was in Vrindavan in March, and Gauravani, is she here? No? Probably doing Didi Seva. So Gauravani contacted me and they were doing the Samadhi opening for Kadambakana March. And she said, can you come? I said, yeah, definitely. She said, wonderful. But more than you, can you bring Nitai? Of course, I'm not allowed to go anywhere without him. And she said, because Kadambakana Maharaj loved Lord Nityananda so much. I thought, well, that's wonderful because Nitai's favorite flower was Kadamba flowers. And Nitai said that he always stays in gardens of Kadamba flowers. So I thought, how much more perfect could this be? And so there was several days of festival, but on Gaur Purnima, of all days, had such a big festival at the Vrindavan Goshala for Maharaj, and Nitai was there. And I thought, how incredible are you that on Gaur Purnima you organize a festival for yourself? That sounds exactly like something that Nitai would do. But then only to make sure that everybody knows that he's so restless and he doesn't listen to anyone but Mahaprabhu. So that's the story of how Nitai came, and he's been with me ever since. And so many people say, it seems like you've been together so much longer. It feels like it. It's hard to imagine what I was doing before Nitai arrived. So have a conversation. But a little warning, but not really a warning. If you ask him something, his answers are usually very clear and very loud. And I had an experience just 2 months ago. They were having so much inner turmoil. I said, what should I do? I said, go talk to Nitai. I can't help you, but he knows everything. And so she went and she spoke to Nitai. And then the next day, she came to me and she was crying. I said, what happened? She said, he's too vocal. She said, I asked for a clear answer and his answer was a little too clear. It was very intense. Well, you asked him for a very clear answer. I told you, he's very, very intense when he gives his answer. But what the Goswamis and descendants of Lord Nityananda say is that Nitai is Akrodha Paramananda. He never gets angry. So even if he has to give some chastisement, it's filled with love and affection. So Nitai will never do anything for us that is inauspicious. It is completely against his nature. They say that Balaram appeared with weapons. Right? We all know. He has a plow and a club. He's got his weapons. See that Nitai has forsaken all of those weapons. But his one weapon is his incredible beauty. So now this is our Nitai going door to door, festival to festival, begging all of us simply to chant the holy names. So please, I urge you, take advantage of him because he's here for you. If it was only for me, he'd still be in my room, but I'm not allowed to gatekeep him. I've understood that if I really want Nitai to stay, I have to make sure that he gives his mercy to everyone. So now let's see how we all become expert Kirtan leaders. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Always sounds quintessentially Bengali. And Nitai is so Bengali. However, Nitai traveled and he went to Vrindavan and he lived there for some time. And he taught himself Brij Bhash. And then he went back to Nadia, hearing that Nimai Pandit was finally ready to begin the Sankirtan movement. And he kept going from door to door asking, is this the home of Nimai Pandit? But no one could give him a direct answer because he was asking them in Brij Bhash. And so this is Nitai. Just when we think everything should make sense, it doesn't. But I feel like that works for my life. Because there's nothing too far out for Nitai to accept. So I feel like I can go to him for any problem. I can express any heartfelt desire. And he'll never look at me like, really? That's what you want? Bengali scriptures, they have what are the traditional instruments for Kirtan. So of course there's the mridanga. And there's kartals. They said also sometimes there's a horn. always accompanied by loud singing. And the last instrument that they spoke about was rolling on the floor in ecstasy. And I decided that's the one I'm going to learn from now. I'm going to learn that instrument. devotees on mic, because I guarantee you no one's listening to you right now. Everyone is just terrified about who I'm going to call on next. So they won't remember what you did. So it's a perfect time to get over your stage fright. Go to Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
sit for a moment. Two things. Let me also sit. Perhaps you start to already feel that as you chant more than you usually chant, I think that's safe to say, something happens that human reason fails to understand. As you immerse yourself into the holy name, something happens with your mind that is very, very nice. It gets purified from so many thoughts. Of course, during the immersion, something else will also, from time to time, raise its ugly head, almost like a snake that is there. It's our ego. Wait a minute, I'm used to being in the center here. No, I'm in charge. But as you chant the holy name so much, so long, so frequently, and again with deep absorption, you notice how the ego, after fighting a little, becomes very peaceful and calm. And instead, a very nice inner climate begins to happen. My dear everyone, chanting so much is like inner surgery. Something old which is not in our favor has to go to make place for something new that is very favorable for our spiritual life comes. So yes, it's very nice. I want to thank all of you, not just the Kirtan leaders, of course the Kirtan leaders, but also all of you for staying on the operation table and not jumping off and running away. You will see this will leave a memorable impression for you. It will be a very significant road, or what is it? What do you say this in English? A milestone. You will move forward miles. At the same time, I notice both in all of you and also in myself that the voice and the body gets a little tired. So once again, I need to say, pace yourself. The rest of the evening is nice. Those who wish to continue with chanting, at 8:15, I hear, in 5 minutes, we are continuing in the temple. Is this correct, Tsunami? For the last darshan. Sorry? Nadia Mani sings. Oh, this is difficult to say. No, I will not come. And those who are hungry, there will be prasadam. Is this correct? There is prasadam, yes. Surabhi gets a little bit intoxicated with so much chanting.